Hi, everyone. Welcome to How I Find Clients as a Black woman freelancer. So, I'm going to be walking through some helpful tips today, as well as tell you about a free masterclass coming up through Digital Nomad Kit, which is the program that I completed to really launch my freelance career. And now I am a freelance healing practitioner, helping sensitive, introverted Black women heal from things like workplace trauma and narcissistic abuse. Um, and I'm also a digital business strategist. So, formerly having a background in economic development, now seeing the opportunities that exist within the digital business landscape for Black women in particular. I have a community called Black Women Freelancers where we gather. We have weekly accountability sessions to really help each other on this journey with its many ups and downs. And I think one of the biggest things we run into is asking ourselves, how do I find clients? And so that is the purpose of this video. And so I have find in quotations on the thumbnail because it's not really finding clients. You're really attracting clients to you with what you put out, with the things that you create, with the messaging that you release out into the world that really draws your people into you. And so we'll be talking about that today. So welcome if you're joining live. Hey, Maya. Always good to see you here. Thank you for joining. If you're watching the replay, please subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, to Black Women Freelancers. And if you're watching on LinkedIn, welcome. I am streaming more on LinkedIn as I'm noticing a lot of my audience is there. So welcome to those of you who are watching on LinkedIn. Let's get into it. Let me make sure I have my banners up. Yes. So, like I said, my journey into freelancing, and today, actually at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'll be live on my other YouTube channel, Marissa Price Heals, to talk about trauma from corporate environments, particularly for Black women, which kind of like led me into this journey of freelancing. And so I started off as a virtual assistant, again, coming across Digital Nomad Kit, which has a free masterclass coming up Tuesday, July 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I'll actually link that in the chat real quick if you would like to register. It's also in the description section and scrolling here on the screen. But yes, this is the program that I came across through. So I attended Exis Summit. So those of you who are in the travel abroad, move abroad space, Exis Summit is a summit, virtual summit for Black women who are looking to make their plan to pivot. And so coming across this community, I was introduced to Libria Jones, who has a community helping people find remote work. And through Libria, I came across Hannah Dixon of Digital Nomad Kit, and just kind of discovered the different ways that I could utilize the skill set that I had already gained in a corporate setting to transition into freelancing. Basically, building a business, building a digital business that is location independent, something that was important to me because I do like to travel, currently live abroad at the moment. So if these things are important to you, noticing and realizing that freelancing can be a path that you can take that can really fund your move abroad, your life abroad, travels abroad, and also give you more flexibility than a traditional work setting provides. And really kind of what being in communities with Black women entrepreneurs and freelancers over the past 2.5 years, I'll say one of the biggest things that we experience is telling ourselves, really like sitting with the truth that we are skilled, that we are so skilled because the society has done such a number on our self-esteem. So often, again, being in these work environments where our skills are doubted, these seeds are instilled within us. And so having to really get to the truth of how skilled we are to be able to then pivot into something like freelancing, that can be a really difficult task. And something I work with my clients to as a healing practitioner and social worker. If you're experiencing the deeper levels of self-doubt that may be keeping you from even like exploring this place of freelancing, that could be something to take notice of, right? Are there wounds from past job experiences, things people have said to you that now may be impacting how you view yourself as a potential freelancer, right? An aspiring digital nomad or someone who would like to travel abroad. Questions to really ask yourself. So this is a link to register. Again, Digital Nomad Kit has a free masterclass coming up Tuesday, I believe, July 22nd, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's called Become a Virtual Assistant or Freelancer and Land Your First Client in a Week. So this is my affiliate link to register here, also scrolling on the screen if you would like to register. And everything that Digital Nomad Kit puts out, and I'll say this having like completed the full program, as well as the 5-day VA training that kind of, first of all, that was the first time I went live ever. And so I'll talk about like the benefits of having something like YouTube or whatever social platform feels most comfortable to you to really begin to build those connections with your clients. But that was the first time that I ever went live, and I was terrified. And just, it's a practice over time. As you get more comfortable with your messaging, with who you're working with what you're putting out into the world, it becomes easier over time, right? Something that when you start out, it may seem impossible to do something like create a freelance business to attract clients. If you put in the work over time at your pace, you can really start to see the results. And also, I created a community that is providing the support along this journey. So if you would like to join Black Women Freelancers, let me put the link in the comments as well. We'd love to have you. Here's a link to join. I see, yes, Wisdom is a standard. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Yes, and here's a link to join Black Women Freelancers. And I hope to be creating more content around this. I think as I have pivoted into really being a healing practitioner as a freelancer, pivoting from being a virtual assistant, which is how I started off as, and then leaning into my skill set that I already had as a social worker, right? As someone with a master's degree in social work, not saying that you have to have a degree at all. We have so many skills that we can draw from to begin to build our clientele. And many times our clients are people who are already in our networks who have expressed, I really need help with this, right? I wish someone could offer this service. And it's really picking up on those cues and then knowing, right? Having the self-belief that you can fulfill that gap in the marketplace. That is really what freelancing is. Okay, so let me get into my notes here. So yes, tip number 1 is really to build authentic visibility. So just as I'm doing here today, right? This is an example. Going live, sharing your story as you feel comfortable, sharing what brought you to freelancing. Are you pivoting from an industry, from a career field? Are you moving abroad? Can this be tied to the clientele that you want to work with? Because for me, when I started as a virtual assistant, I had been in spaces with Black women who were traveling and moving abroad, who were building digital businesses. And I knew that that was a clientele that I would love to serve as a virtual assistant. And so I began like getting into communities with my ideal clientele, and just building connections authentically, right? So a lot of this is really about authenticity. Are you sharing your story? Are you building relationships? Because that's really where your clients tend to come from as a freelancer and entrepreneur, and viewing this as a long game, right? Not something that you're just in to generate revenue quickly. You're building deep connections, deep relationships with your ideal clientele. And you want to make sure that they know that you're here to support them, even outside of a business relationship, providing resources, knowledge, help, right? You're building this relationship over time. And then choosing like one social media platform that feels most comfortable to begin sharing, that you're open for business, that you're accepting new clients, to give people a snippet of your background. Do you have areas of expertise that you're drawing on in this new business? Maybe it is from a corporate setting, a past work environment that you're now bringing into this as a freelancer. But it's really about telling your story so that your clients know who you are, right? So that it's not like a cold connection, but you're warming people up to who you are, what services you offer, what support you can provide, and viewing it more as a relationship-based business model. That is how I view freelancing. Talking about value-led content. So just like this, right? How I find clients, even though I tend not to look at it like that, right? Because I'm really attracting clients in with the messaging that I share, with the knowledge that I share, the resources. People see that, right? People see that you're providing a valuable resource, and it's not transactional. It's not an exchange. But that naturally leads people to want to work with you. And so if you can view it in that frame, sometimes it feels less scary, right? Because we're often taught in business to view things very transactional based. How can I provide this for this person and they give me money in exchange? Kind of shifting your mindset in that sense, because you're building this for the long term. You want this to be sustainable. You want to build deep connections that lead to things like referrals, which are huge for freelancers. And so just viewing it in that lens may be helpful. Oh, thank you for sharing this, Velvet Altar. I'm in the VEA right now because of you, Marissa. Thank you for sharing that. And the Virtual Excellence Academy is Digital Nomad Kit's training program that I completed to kind of launch my virtual assistant career. So I'm so happy to hear that you're in it. It was really a wonderful, supportive, welcoming community. As I was transitioning out of a job environment that was deeply harmful, traumatizing, I think coming into a space like that where I could be my full self was something that I needed at the time. And it really helped me be able to learn and really absorb the information and then make the plan to be able to work with Black women digital entrepreneurs. So I'm so glad to hear that. And thank you for sharing that. Let me get back to my notes. Let me see. Yeah, so any value-led content that you can share around the service that you're offering, right? So can you share, I'm trying to think, as a virtual assistant, I shared things like how to, did I share content around organizing? I may have. Organizing, building freedom into your business, like messaging that really resonates with your clientele can be really value-led content. So how can you provide value to the people who you want to work with, and viewing it from that standpoint instead of how can I get people to pay me money? It's much deeper than that, right? You're building relationships, you're building connections over the long term to lean into things like referrals, and for people to really trust what you're doing and see that you're not just in it for the money, right? Which is so important. So tip number 2, use soft outreach and connection. So engaging with potential clients, again, without it feeling salesy. So you do not want this, and this is how I view business in my community, in particular, Black women and freelancers. I do not view business as transactional, the way that we're often taught, just a revenue exchange, right? And that's your primary motivation. For me, particularly as Black women entrepreneurs and freelancers, I think it's so important for us to build community first, given all the things that we're facing, right? The barriers that we're facing as entrepreneurs, the lack of capital access, understanding sometimes financial resources, business resources, all these things, we have to build community to be able to share that with each other as we're on this journey. And so it's approaching like client relationships the same way. How can you build relationships, share, give valuable information without it feeling like a transaction? And we know how that feels when someone's just looking to get money from us. It doesn't feel good. And so you don't want your clients to feel that way either. You want to be able to support them, even if they don't decide to move forward with purchasing something from you. You want to be able to still cultivate a relationship for the long term. So also things like responding to comments when people comment on social media posts, providing gentle invitations to work with you or book something like a consultation call, right? And also like the power of the word of mouth is huge, right? So people will talk about the work that you do, how they felt when they interacted with you. And that can lead to things like positive referrals, right? And on the flip side, people being like, I don't know if you want to work with this person because I didn't have a great experience with them. So really understanding like the value of client experience is really important as well. So tip number 3, designing offers that feel aligned. So this has been very important for me as a healing practitioner on my own healing journey, right? Kind of probing deeper into my own experiences to be able to offer my ideal clients what they need or what I think that they need based on my own experiences. And also understanding that I could be wrong, right? And being open to gaining new information, new feedback from my clients, who I am serving, right, is very important. So being open to that. But knowing that you can iterate your offerings over time with the information that you receive. And knowing that how you position your offerings really determines who is attracted to them, right? So if you're positioning it again with a very transactional based way of talking about it, you're going to attract people who value profit, right? Who value revenue generation. And is that the people that you want to work with? Or do you want a deeper connection, something like relationship based? And that can really be something with tweaking your messaging around your product, your service, your offering, right? And telling people the deeper reason behind why you're doing what you're doing as a freelancer or a service provider. So things like being clear about what you do, having confidence, which is another video topic, can really magnetize and draw your ideal clients into you versus having to find or seek out clients. So as you become more clear about what you do, the value that you offer, you're able to speak confidently about it, which is a process over time. People take notice, right, of what you're doing. They become interested when you share value added content. When people see that you're not just in it for money, you're in it for the long term, you're in it to support people, to help people on their journey, we can sense that, right? Your ideal clients can sense that. And then you will notice things like referrals start happening when you provide a positive client experience. As you begin to share your story, which is so important, something I emphasize a lot with entrepreneurs, right? New entrepreneurs, new freelancers. Please, if you're able to, share your story. What brought you to this field, right? Why are you launching this business? What things are you hoping to gain out of it? How are you wanting to serve your ideal clientele? And just all like the interesting, unique parts about yourself that we've often been taught to hide and conceal in traditional work environments. As an entrepreneur, a freelancer, these are things you really, and it's a process too, but have to open up about, right? To show people why they should work with you in particular. And that's how you draw your clients in, right? And tip number 4, healing and mindset work, right? So again, healing these deeper wounds that may have been created in things like toxic workplaces with things like self-confidence, self-worth, right? Knowing that you are absolutely fully worthy, that you came here worthy, that you have so many skills, so many skills. If you do a skills inventory, which is just listing out all the skills that you've gained from the jobs that you have had, the volunteer experiences that you've had, I guarantee you the list will be long. If you just walk yourself through your own history, and you'll see how many skills you have, even if you don't believe it right now. Right? Really attracting clients from a place of self-trust versus something like scarcity, right? Which can be easier said than done as a freelancer with sometimes the month, like the variability, right? In income from month to month. But it's really having a sense of self-trust that it often requires you to turn inward to generate the messaging to attract your clientele, right? Versus having to seek, find, convince people to work with you, audition. It's a complete mindset shift as a freelancer with the ways that we've been socialized to operate with seeking jobs, with applying for jobs, right? With interviewing. It's a mindset shift. And so it's giving yourself grace, self-compassion on this journey of doing something new, like trying out freelancing, right? And noticing or knowing always that you can put it down if it doesn't feel right and pick it back up, right? It doesn't have to be something that you enter into full time at all. It can be something that you experiment with part-time, taking on one client here to see how it feels, to see if you like what you do, and knowing that you can always pivot and tweak things, right? It's an iterative process as an entrepreneur or a freelancer. Yes, realizing it's suddenly fully okay to be myself now takes effort. It does. Thank you for sharing that, the Velvet Altar. It does. That's a huge mindset shift. Yep. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've had to move through. Again, I'll be talking about corporate trauma later today, 6 p.m. Eastern on my main channel, Marissa Price Heals. But that was it. Having to hide, having to conceal, kind of mask day after day after day, and realizing as an entrepreneur, I have to remove that. That's a process, right? Particularly as Black women, that is a process to show people who we are authentically, because so often it has not been safe to do that. And as an entrepreneur or freelancer, that's really the only way that your ideal clients know who you are, know your story, know why you're doing this, and why they should work with you, right? That's how you draw them in. That's how you attract them. And that can be really the deepest thing to work through. So thank you for sharing that. Hello, Ask Beverly. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here. So yes, just going through my notes. So affirmations may be helpful with this as you're moving through healing and mindset work as a freelancer. Again, if you are looking for help, there is a free masterclass coming up through Digital Nomad Kit on the 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. That I linked in the chat if you're watching live. It's also scrolling on the screen and in the description section. And I also created a online business training. And this was probably 2 years ago at this point, but it's really thorough if you are just interested in starting an online business. It's called Start Your Online Business from Scratch. Walks you through the basics of the terms, because that can be a barrier too. What is a lead magnet? What is a sales funnel? All these terms. So if you're interested in that, here's the link to that as well. Okay. So practical tools that may be helpful on this that I use. So Canva is a great tool to begin to develop like social media images that you can share on things like Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. That's what I use. YouTube is a free tool to begin to do your online marketing for your business. That has been the most effective tool for me as a freelancer to generate and attract clients into what I do is YouTube. LinkedIn is also a great platform. Instagram has been hit or miss, right? But it's really about your comfort level. So kind of reflecting on that, which platform makes you feel most comfortable? Because I know I have been, that's one of the reasons why I have not been on TikTok, because TikTok is very busy. As a sensitive person, I can't do that all the time. So I know that long form content on YouTube really draws me in, and it's where I can really thrive and begin to market my business. So kind of reflecting on that, which platform are you able to feel most like yourself on social media to draw your clients in? Yes. I think the hardest mindset shift is realizing that we don't need to rely on an employer, but that we can make a path for ourselves. And as you say, we can start gradually. Absolutely. That's so true. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that is how we have often been socialized, right? So often that we have to seek out, as you say, like rely on an employer. And we see, particularly for Black women at this time, with the amount of layoffs that are occurring, being fired, right, from things like DEI, just kind of having the rug ripped out from under us in that sense. Knowing that we have skills that are permanent within us, things that we have cultivated, is really taking self-ownership over these skills, right? No job ever owns the skills that we have. These are ours. And knowing that we can pivot into a different area like freelancing. And as you said, starting gradually is perfectly okay. Starting at your own pace, knowing that you do not have to jump into this full time to start off with, that you can ease into it. You absolutely can. Taking on a client, like I said, a lot of our clients are often in our existing networks. So if you know someone that needs your help, right, reaching out to them, doing a pitch that's not salesy, right, but that's just telling people that you're open for business, you're accepting clients, taking on one client at a time, seeing how it feels. Do you like to do this, or do you want to pivot into another area? And it really gives you that level of flexibility and autonomy that we don't experience in the workplace. So it's a huge mindset shift. Yes, wisdom is a standard says, yes, Beverly, I'm trying to break that glass ceiling with the old programming of reliance on my employer to show the world what I'm capable of. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, so many of us are. So many of us are. Thank you. And it's that part, to show the world what I'm capable of. Yes. And I'll say, just again, having my community, Black women freelancers, the amount of skills that we have, right? Knowing that we are often the experts in our fields as Black women. And so how can we lean into that and really embrace that for ourselves? Because so often our skill sets have been doubted. They've been called into question, right? We've been taught to shrink, silence ourselves. And so this is really like coming into our full selves. This is really like self-actualization as Black women freelancers, entrepreneurs, owning our skills for ourselves, right? And refusing to accept the doubt that other people have tried to place there, to extract our power, to make us question if we can do this, knowing that we've done so many difficult things before and that we have a community, right, to support us along this journey. We don't have to do it ourselves, right? We can learn from other people who have gone through this. We can utilize resources, as I'm sharing here today, and develop kind of like, I almost want to say like a playful, like a curious sense when it comes to exploring freelancing, versus it having to be so rigid, right? Allowing yourself to kind of gain information over time, sit with it, right? Take on a client, do a project, see if you like it. And so often we have not had that level of flexibility afforded to us. And so this is new. Yeah. Okay. So other tools that may be helpful, I went over Canva, YouTube, LinkedIn to market your business. Trying to think of other ways. Email. Email is often overlooked, but email is huge. You can start an email list through something like ConvertKit, and I do have an affiliate link if you'd like to sign up for ConvertKit, which is the email marketing platform I use. It's now called Kit. But you can also start with something like Gmail, If you already have people that are in your network that you've emailed before, can you just use Gmail, right? Your standard Gmail account. There are free signature generators that you can use. I think YStamp is one of them. Canva has templates for email signatures, but there are so many free tools that exist that didn't exist before that you can utilize to decrease the startup cost of freelancing. And that's another thing that I love about freelancing. Having worked on business strategy for Black-owned businesses, right? One of the most glaring barriers is the lack of capital access, which keeps us out of entrepreneurship so often. Digital entrepreneurship has opened the doors to us starting businesses with such low startup costs that did not exist before. And so how can you possibly take advantage of all of these new tools that exist, like Canva, like PayPal is the invoicing tool I use, which is free. All these things that are free, right, to start off with. And then as your business grows, knowing that you may have to upgrade to something like the premium plan, right? But just starting off, utilize the free plan of these tools, right? Keep your startup cost as low as possible when you're just getting off the ground. Okay. And so I think that's it. Let me scroll through my notes real quick. Yeah, so just as we wrap up, just want to affirm your journey wherever you are. If you're a current, aspiring Black woman freelancer, if you're navigating the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, know that we are here to support you. That is why I created my community, Black Women Freelancers. Again, the link to join is in the description section if you'd like to join us over there. But knowing that we can support each other on this journey, because a lot of us are looking to pivot. So leave toxic work environments, pivot outside of the US, right? Because a lot of remote jobs require you to be in the US now. And with what we see happening in the US, particularly affecting Black women, a lot of us are looking to travel, move abroad. And so freelancing can provide you with the income source to be able to do that. And it's really about building your strategy for your business, right? To be able to generate leads, something I'll be talking about in the future, right? What is lead generation? How do you bring people into your ecosystem as a freelancer, to tell them what you do, to share valuable information, resources, to ultimately, hopefully, build a relationship where they wind up being your client, right? And it's really a relationship-based way of building a business versus it being transactional. So if you are in need of assistance, if you'd like to chat with me one-on-one, I do have a link here to book a call with me. If you're looking to build your freelancing strategy, understand what your skill set is so that you can begin the journey, I would love to work with you one-on-one. And here's a link to book a call with me. I'm a healing practitioner. I'm a freelancer. I'm living abroad, right? I'm a toxic job survivor, all these things. And I would be so happy to help you on your journey if you are looking for support. But with that, I want to thank y'all for being here. And I do want to remind y'all the free masterclass happening next week called Become a Virtual Assistant or a Freelancer and Land Your First Client in a Week. That digital Nomad Kit will be hosting 1 p.m. Eastern on the 22nd. And yeah, I want to thank you so much for being here. If you're watching live on YouTube or LinkedIn, or if you're watching on the replay, please leave a comment if you're on YouTube and let me know if this resonated. And I hope to see you in Black Women Freelancers. And I think that's it. You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. Ask Beverly. Appreciate you. Bye, y'all. Thank you.